With E3 canceled for 2022, a lot of gamer eyes, especially from Camp Blue PlayStation fans, were looking at State of Play, which came June 2nd. Now, State of Play, for those of you that don't know, is Sony's specific announcement platform or event, and it seems like all the major game platforms, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, are veering away from E3. I made an entire video as to why E3 as an event, as a conference, as the pinnacle of gaming news, is virtually irrelevant in 2022 and has been for almost 8 years now. If you think I'm off my rockers, marbles not in the sack, and a couple terabytes short of a porn hard drive, go ahead and look at that video. It is in the description below. Now, the PlayStation State of Play that we had on June 2nd was somewhat of a mixed bag. A lot of people perceived it very well and said it was exactly what they needed to wet their whistle. And on the flip token, a lot of gamers were slightly disappointed, myself included. I didn't think it was a disappointing event. However, in their 30-minute presentation, I think they could have crammed in a little bit more, but they did touch on some awesome shit, including PSVR2, which, as somebody that enjoys VR gaming and is getting progressively more and more into it, and is also a PlayStation fan and would love to see some first-party exclusives, Sony Interactive Entertainment bangers, in a fully immersive virtual world, that is exactly what we're going to get as seen from some of the presentations. Also, Sony is making a huge push into PC games. By 2025, they want to have around 3/4 of their library ported over to PC and mobile, which is insane because generally Sony is very tight with their IPs or intellectual property, their exclusives, their first-party games, as opposed to Microsoft, which launches them day and date on the PC platform because it's the Game Pass ecosystem, and they try and drive traffic to their subscription service. Sony generally makes their money with their SIE or Sony Interactive Entertainment first-party games, as well as accessory sales such as the Pulse 3D headset and extra DualSense controllers for the PlayStation 5. But that's my intro spiel. Let's wrap up my thoughts on PlayStation as a whole and how I thought the event went and jump right into what they announced. The 28.5-minute live presentation that streamed on the 2nd of June started with an eerie trailer of Resident Evil 4, which is being remade and will be released on March 24th, 2023. Now, keep in mind that Capcom is looking to reimagine the storyline of the game while keeping the essence and its direction, modernizing the graphics and updating the controls to a modern standard. Now, this makes me a little bit nervous when a game isn't getting remastered but fully remade, because if developers start taking too much initiative and leeway moving the story around, then it's not true to the original content anymore. And these old games had good stories, but what they need is obviously a buffing of the graphics to bring it into the modern era with 4K or 1440p, maybe a little ray tracing, better textures, reflections, and of course modernized controls. That's the big one there. If you've ever gone back to play a game from your childhood, maybe 15, 20 years ago, and you're like, my God, I'm fighting with the camera, combat's not intuitive, the inventory system's trash, the crafting's horrible. So it's great when they take the controls and graphics into the modern era but leave the story damn and hell well alone. So hopefully they do that with Resident Evil 4, because that actually had a pretty good storyline, and for most Resident Evil purists, that was actually one of the best ones in the series. Now, it was also mentioned that PSVR2 owners will have some kind of support for Resident Evil 4 Remake, or we'll call it RE4R, although no details were given on that just yet. Speaking of VR and Resident Evil Village will soon have Lady Damascus clapping her cheeks in a handstand right in front of your face with PSVR2. Yes, we're talking about the complete campaign, and some of the features showcase is that VR will let players guard by actually lifting their arms and will give them the option to use different weapons for each hand to add more fidelity in your choices of how you approach a fight. That's pretty sick. Now, I've got to say, any horror game done correctly in VR can be an insanely awesome experience. As long as you have extra pairs of trousers on deck, which I recommend you do, and for people like myself that I actually skipped over Village, I haven't touched it at all, that will probably be an awesome way to experience it for the first time. Next up, for you beat-em-up fans out there, Street Fighter VI will brawl its way onto PS4 and 5 in 2023. It's also coming to Xbox Series S and X and PC. Capcom provided a demo with an extended look at gameplay for the latest entry in the legendary fighting franchise. Now, what's interesting is Street Fighter VI is actually being built on Capcom's RE engine, the same engine used for Resident Evil 7 and Village. So the first 3 demonstrations during the State of Play event are all built on the same engine. Very interesting. And this engine allows for improved graphics alongside a more stylish experience that will be filled with explosive splashes of paint and the striking graffiti treatment. As we wait for more news, Street Fighter fans will be happy to know that Ryu, Chun-Li, Luke, and newcomer Jamie are all already signed onto the roster. Now, the next 2 pieces of news were extremely exciting to me, and I would say one of the highlights of the State of Play event. There was a Horizon game coming to PSVR2, and when the trailer started, I honestly thought it was Forbidden West for a minute. It looked like a full-fledged console release of Horizon. It didn't look VR-ish, it didn't look like a mobile game, it didn't look cheap or chintzy. It looked like Horizon. However, this game is called Horizon Call of the Mountain, and it'll let you experience Horizon in a whole new way. Now, we got a pretty good chunk of gameplay to look at, and I was impressed. The story for this new adventure is set in the same world as the first two games, and players are going to become a former Shadow Carja warrior named Reyes, who's looking to redeem himself by investigating a grave new threat to Sundom. He excels at climbing and archery, which is great for VR. Like literally, grabbing a quiver or bolt from your holster and then knocking an arrow, incredibly fluid on VR. Same thing with climbing. Although climbing you gotta be careful with, you can easily get nauseous. In this experience, you'll be able to scale perilous mountains and take down mighty machines like the Thunderjaw. Even though players won't be experiencing this world through the gorgeous eyes of Aloy, they will run across her as well as other new faces in this journey. As alongside to the story mode, there's also going to be a river mode that takes players down, sure enough, you guessed it, a river to enjoy beautiful scenery. However, that doesn't mean there won't be some uninvited machines that try and climb aboard. So the Horizon universe is one that I think will fit very well in VR, and it is one that I would like to experience in that dimension, in that realm, being able to look around a vast graveyard of slain machines, climb up perilous mountains, and the gameplay looked crisp. Horizon Forbidden West is getting a major update that will include a whole slew of new content. The major and notable entries are a new performance mode, a way to transmog or change the appearance of your armor, a way to reset your skill points, an ultra hard difficulty mode, new game plus mode, additional trophies, a new herbalist vendor, and improved temporal anti-aliasing. Now, I myself really enjoyed Forbidden West and gave it exemplary marks during my review on this channel. Of course, it was not perfect and there were some shortcomings that I noted. Climbing, mainly. So I was just looking through my channel dashboard in the Creator Studio, and apparently I never did release a review of Forbidden West, which is insane. I did a settings guide for graphical and controller settings, but I never actually released a review. That may be coming in the near future. It's kind of time late now. A lot of people have already released reviews. I got it launch day, planned on making a review. I guess it never happened. Good game, though. Very good game. Next up, we got a gameplay trailer for Callisto Protocol. I do want to make note of the fact that the gameplay and the graphics look absolutely awesome in this game. I was getting a lot of Dead Space vibes, which is not a bad thing by any means, as that is a great horror franchise. I think that's primarily because of the environment you're in. You're in cold metal corridors in an industrial setting. Tons of jump scares, and the graphics, like I mentioned, look beautiful. Some of the lighting effects, some of the shading, some of the textures looked insane. And we don't have to wait too long for that game to come out, as it does have a release date of December 2nd this year. I popped on a PlayStation snapback for two reasons. One, I looked homeless, like I just crawled out of a dumpster, and two, we're talking about Sony news. You gotta look the part. Actually, you know what? Let's do one better. Bam. There it goes right there. Yep, 1994, launch day. I was there. Not in Japan, but I remember when the PlayStation launched. A lot of you guys weren't even born yet. That's depressing. Mold. The captivating kitty cat game Stray finally gets a release date. This game has been announced for a long time. I remember seeing teaser trailers prior to the PlayStation 5's launch, and keep in mind that console has been out for over a year and a half now. This game has been met by much anticipation, and it will be starring an adorable cat, finally released on July 19th of 2022, so that's right around the corner. Furthermore, to put a cherry on the cream pie cake, it will be free for those who subscribe to the extra and premium tiers of new PlayStation Plus. That's not free, that's included with the subscription service. Just like when you say a game's free on Game Pass, it's included in your subscription, but you're paying for it. But that is surprising that a new release game is going to PlayStation Plus, because I made a video going over all the changes with PlayStation Plus's layout and their 3 tiers. It is nowhere even near close comparable to Game Pass, and the primary reason, there's multiple, but I'll just throw 2. The first one would be that no first-party Sony games launch day and date on that platform. Unlike Game Pass, where all their first-party games, Bethesda, and of course if Activision Blizzard goes swimmingly with their acquisition, Halo, Forza, Gears of War, Starfield, when that drops, are going to launch day and date on that subscription platform. So it is very impressive when I read that news that it is coming to PlayStation Plus, but only the extra and premium tiers, which are the top 2. If you have basic, that's the equivalent of PlayStation Plus as it currently stands. Moving along, Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales are swinging to PC in 2022. While fans may have to wait a bit to play Marvel's Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac Games, a new version of Spider-Man Remastered will be making its way to PC August 12, 2022, to help you cope with the wait for the new Spider-Man 2. Miles Morales is also getting released on PC, but that's not happening until later this fall. So I think this is relatively exciting because, like I mentioned, PlayStation is now opening up a lot of their IPs to make their way over to PC, and this is good for a couple of reasons. One, and most obvious, would be people that only have a PC or Xbox and wouldn't get to experience the awesome first-party Sony games. The second one would be people like myself that have a PlayStation console but also have a PC that's substantially substantially more powerful than even a PlayStation 5, and want to really crank the graphical fidelity through the roof, maybe get away from the 60 frames per second we've been seeing with PlayStation 5 releases, and play these games at a native 165 hertz, or whatever the native refresh of your monitor is. Plus, there's a huge PC modding community, so you can actually tinker and tamper with these games to add, subtract, or modify features. And it's just a new platform, new way to experience these already awesome games that you might have played previously, or you might be a new visitor. No Man's Sky is making its way to PSVR2. I actually recently dove into No Man's Sky for the first time. I avoided it when it was No Man's Buy, but through patches and updates, the game actually became the initial vision of what the game was supposed to be at launch, and it is actually incredibly enjoyable now. But now being immersed in virtual reality will make endless exploration of space even more impressive and immersive. Season, A Letter to the Future, will be released in autumn of 2022. What is this game? I didn't know either. It takes place in a village safe from the turmoil of changing seasons. One day, a woman named Estelle decides to leave and embarks on a journey to explore a world on the brink of change. As for gameplay, Season is all about exploring, recording, meeting new people, and unraveling the strange world around you. Players will also travel around on a bike and use tools to learn about this world you've never known before. Doesn't particularly look like it's right up my tuchus, not really my flavor genre game, but I'm sure a lot of people will get some enjoyment from it. Back to VR content, because I haven't had enough, and I know you haven't had your fill either. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution is coming to PSVR 2 in 2023. And if you can't wait that long to go zombie hunting, this new chapter will be released on the original PSVR in late 2022. I would hold off. PSVR 1 is a subpar goggle or headset. It lacks a lot of features, and even getting it up and running is kind of a pain in the tuchus, and then getting it optimized is even more of a squeeze in the rump. It's just not a great headset, period. I would wait for PSVR 2 if I were you personally. That's just my recommendation. Or better yet, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is already available on the Steam VR library, as well as the Oculus library. So if you have an Oculus Rift connected to your PC, you got a Quest 2, connect that to your PC, or use the standalone store and just go wireless with it, and you can get your fill of Walking Dead VR goodness before Retribution is released. For you guys that never leave the basement, Eternites is a dating action game set in the apocalypse. The worlds of dungeon crawling and dating are set to collide when Eternites arrives on PS5 and PS4 in 2023, early 2023. There will be 5 quirky and lovable characters to fall in love with, and you'll be able to explore their their backstories, when you aren't knee-deep in dungeons. Knee-deep. There is also an ever-ticking clock that will force you to make choices and prioritize loot or love. Well, that's an easy one for me. I mean, several rap songs have summarized this when they say money over bitches, basically. Now, if you're giving in to the taut grasp of love and you're under its spell, you're not going to be able to do things like plaster an entire wall in your house with controllers, or stay up till 3 in the morning playing video games. The ladies simply won't stand for it. Also, I would like to make it clear that I don't refer to women as the B word. Next up, we have a futuristic skater shooter. Roller Drome Skates coming to the PS4 and PS5 this fall from Ollie Ollie World's Roll 7. This game has a very unique, not only graphical style, but also gameplay style. As you can see, it's cel shaded, but it's a different style of cel shading than you're used to with things like Borderlands. Very vibrant, very colorful, very contrasty. It almost looks like Jet Set Radio from the Dreamcast had a baby with Rocket League and then frolicked around with Twisted Metal. There really isn't anything to compare it to because this is a completely unique gameplay style. I don't think we've ever had like a rollerblade combat game before, and it actually looks like it's going to be a bang up golly gee good time. Square Enix also showed off a gameplay trailer for the upcoming PS5 role-playing game Final Fantasy XVI, or XVI. Now, we don't have a specific release date for that game yet, but the game is slated to come out sometime in the summer of 2023, so not too long of a wait. And it does look as if they did not go back to turn-based style combat. It is still free-flowing combat, or hack and slash, I guess you could call it, like we saw with Final Fantasy XV and FF7 Remake, which I actually prefer because you can freeze time or slow down time and pick and choose items, spells, summons, etc. Or you can just free flow hack and slash it, or you can completely make it turn-based in the settings and go back to a more traditional Final Fantasy experience. This trailer was by far the most cinematic and epic. It had a soundtrack that would make women weep from sheer pleasure, and gameplay so fluid you would sell your firstborn child to get 5 minutes alone with a controller. As it is a Final Fantasy title, it's going to have a huge budget and be be an absolute banger. Even if you're not a fan of every single game, you don't like the franchise or series as a whole, there's probably one or two titles that are near and dear to your rear, considering all the games vary greatly, not only in story, they don't really carry over, granted some of them bleed over into each other's universes, but the FF series has a tickle, touch, and position for everyone. Tunic, which is a Zelda-like known for its insane video game manual and awesome graphical style, has quietly become one of the best-selling games of the year. Luckily, PS4 and 5 owners will get to join in on the fun starting September 27th. Also, it wasn't mentioned, but I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in, the soundtrack is absolutely amazing. So was June's State of Play event disappointing? I don't think so. Was it a little bit scarce? Slightly. But I will say they did mention a lot of really good VR titles, which I'm excited for. I am gonna do a separate video about everything we know thus far about the PSVR2. It is quite an impressive piece of tech, to say the least. PSVR1 is, I'm not going to say trash, but it is a subpar or D-grade, D-tier, arguably F-tier VR headset experience. PSVR2, from everything that we've seen thus far, and I have done a lot of research on the topic, looks incredibly impressive. Like it will stand toe-to-toe with a lot of headsets on the market. Is it going to have the sheer performance of a PC-centric device like the Valve Index or the HTC Vive? No, but those are also like $1,200 and require you to set up base stations around your room and then have about a $3,000 PC to push games at a decent frame rate. Not very average consumer or entry-level friendly, but it looks like it will share a lot of features with the Oculus Quest 2, which is a very user-friendly, very approachable, and also the best-selling VR headset on the market currently. But PSVR 2, again, I'm not going to get into too many details here, has some sweet-ass features, such as eye tracking. It's actually looking at where you're looking, not to mention haptic feedback in not just the hand grips, but also the goggle itself, so it's going to vibrate on your face. I'm sure that can be turned off as well. And the resolution, crisp as hell. You ain't getting no screen door effect with a resolution like that, unless they absolutely botch the FOV or field of view, which I don't think they will. Now, granted, the majority of State of Play was VR content and also remakes and remasters and then ports over to PC. We finally have a release date for Stray. Callisto Protocol looks badass. Roller Drome looks like nothing we've ever seen before. Street Fighter 6 is going to be a good way to punch your friend's tits back and couch co-op. I'm more of a Tekken and Mortal Kombat man myself, but don't get me wrong, Street Fighter is pretty sick too. Season, A Letter to the Future looks unique. I will use that word for it. So that is everything Sony covered at this year's June State of Play event. Drop in the comment section below what you personally are excited about, if anything. Me personally, all that PSVR 2 news got me a little bit tickled in the nether regions. The support for Horizon Forbidden West, also good. Spider-Man being ported to PC, also good. Resident Evil remake, I'll take it. Roller Drome looks sick, super unique. We haven't really seen a game like that before. Yeah, I don't think it was a bad event. I think it could have had a little bit more meat and potatoes, a little more content. However, it is very likely with what we've seen this year and what we haven't seen thus far that Sony will make some very big announcements over the next couple months. And I will keep you apprised when that happens. Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at Gamer Heaven. Check out Into the AM for some of the sickest looking and most comfortable cloth to ever grace my gaming giblets. If you don't want to be scorching your corneas with harmful blue light, check out Gamer Advantage, the only blue light glasses on the market that look sexy and actually work. If you're looking for a custom controller that'll blow the competition's tits back, AIM definitively has the best bang for buck or price to performance when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch controllers. Nope, they don't do Switch, but they do gaming mice. I said doo-doo. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. If you need a quick laugh or blast of gamer adrenaline, check my short form videos out at TikTok. To get in touch with myself and the stallions and stallionettes of Gamer Heaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting Gamer Heaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.